Hey everybody, welcome back to the LuckyDog podcast. This is your host, Elias Roush. This podcast is sponsored by EliasRoushMedia.com, photo, video, digital media production. Today we are discussing the last two episodes of Invincible, episodes 7 and 8. I'll talk about it in order that way, just so that anybody that hasn't seen 8 can listen to 7, and if they need to pause it, then they'll jump into 8 right after. Episode 7 of Invincible. Let me just say, leading up to this episode, I've been very impressed with the pacing for this season. I was a little bit critical of it at the beginning of the season, thinking that, I don't know, what was it, 45-minute episodes or 40-minute episodes were a little bit lengthy. I gotta say that I think I might backtrack a little bit on it, because it might have had to do more with the pacing and kind of understanding why we should care about these characters, that it just took a while in the first little bit to kind of get going. I know that can be a criticism of a lot of television, is the first few episodes are a little bit rocky because they're laying out so much of the world and so much of the exposition has to happen in these first few episodes. So, with the way that it pans out, I gotta say that I was very impressed. Not many quibbles with how episodes 7 and 8 unfolded. So let's start with 7 first. Episode 7, we need to talk. After Debbie relocates to the GDA, Cecil explains the truth before both witness Nolan kill Cecil's associate, Donald Ferguson, and several GDA agents. Adding a Neuralink upgrade, the Rudy clone reluctantly euthanizes his progenitor. I'm not even sure, but I guess it's his new body, I believe. Paying and betraying the Muellers, the new Rudy leaves for a Guardian's summons. So just to kind of, everybody's like, who the hell is, what's going on? It's the two blue guys that are twins, that are clones or whatever the hell, that are helping the new Rudy, who was formerly Robot, jump into his new, kind of be absorbed into his new body. This was a complete subplot of the show that I was not nearly prepared for, and I love how it's even as far back as the first episode when it comes to talking about cloning and talking about who's the real clone, that type of thing. There's all this talk of being able to clone yourself and abilities to do that type of thing. And I love how it eventually comes back, and we see Robot getting ready to plan something through this entire season. And when it finally comes to a head at episode 7, you're like, oh my God, this is what's going on. The real Robot and this little jar bean has been hanging out for I don't know how long. And I love the detail that they talk about with the real Robot who's in this jar, how, he probably smells because he didn't plan on ever leaving that thing. He always has like a backup plan. He kind of reminds me of this little, that scientist that tiny little scientist in the Mad Max world when they show him. Anyone that's seen the most recent Mad Max will know what they're talking about. It kind of looks like the Robot. So, something has happened to Robot. I don't know if it's explained in this season yet, or if it's in the comics of why why the real Robot is in this tube thing. So anyway, Robot gets a new body, and he takes, using the DNA of what is his name? Oh fuck, I can't find his name. Manzuka's character. Rex. He takes the Rex Splode. He takes Rex Splode's body because he sees that Monster Girl was somewhat interested in Rudy a little bit earlier in the season. So yeah, there's what I'd call this is very detailed writing when it comes down to the plotting of this, and I'm really loving it. Okay, so Rudy leaves for the garden summons. He explains to the team, who are taken aback by Rudy's revelations before learning the truth of Omni-Man and realizing their predecessors' fates. Cecil buys time by talking to Nolan, but before retreating to deploy Sinclair's Reaniman and a modified kaiju to kill him. Yeah, and at this point, anyone that has seen what is that called? Born. What was it? That evil Superman kid, Brightburn. Anyone that has seen Brightburn will get super Brightburn vibes. I'll just kind of give a quick non-real, I don't think it's a spoiler to say any of the synopsis of that Brightburn movie. Brightburn is essentially what if Superman came to Earth but decided not to be a good guy. And it's from the perspective of the kid. So you got this like evil kid and his teens running around creating chaos in Brightburn. This show feels like if Brightburn had taken that concept and the kid grew older. It's absolutely horrifying to think if there was superhumans at this point. The probably the best case scenario right now is that there aren't superhumans or there aren't superheroes out there, because if there were, there would certainly probably be supervillains, because this is how it would happen. One person would have too much power, and from that it would cause a chain reaction of other people saying this person or this entity cannot have this power. They are too powerful. And that if they inevitably turn on us, then we're done. And that was always a conversation they had in I want to say they had this conversation in X-Men a lot as well. So, anyways, they have this giant kaiju coming to trying to kill Omni-Man. Unfazed by Mark revealing his superhero identity, having deduced the truth 2 weeks earlier, Amber dumps him as he never trusted her before. As he never trusted her before. He never trusted her before. With telling his secret identity. Mark at this point, there is like this coming of age storyline that is coming along this entire series as well, even as an animation. By the end of the 8th episode, I forgot I was watching an animation by the way it was making me feel. The adult themes that are happening in this, even though there's this coming of age, will they, won't they kind of thing, there is this real talk between these individuals that feel like these are real characters. They're, even though they are animated, it feels like these are natural characters, and this is how they would naturally feel. And Amber is not stupid. She understands, and she's known for a while. Mark seeks Eve's wisdom, but she sternly criticizes his selfish behavior. When the two intercept Nolan's fight with the kaiju, Cecil calls Eve to abandon Mark and rendezvous with the Guardians. Just as the Maulers revive Immortal, he flies off to battle Omni-Man and avenge... just as the Maulers revive Immortal. Immortal is the character that looks like Abraham Lincoln, but like super badass. And I love that they even address it. I think there's this like really quick edit or this flash in his eye, I think, that it shows him like as Abe Lincoln at one point. And so it looks like a badass Abe Lincoln just doing all this crazy stuff. And so he flies off to battle to battle Omni-Man and avenge his team's massacre, while Mark narrowly subdues the kaiju. News choppers capture Omni-Man killing Immortal in a live global broadcast before Nolan finally asks to talk with a bewildered Mark. Yeah, and once again, this is directed by Jeff Allen, and this one was written by Simon Ricopola. Racalapola. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. That was my bad, Simon. Um, but yes, this lead up, this episode 7 was absolutely crucial. It feels like everything is in place. All gears are go. I'm like, holy hell, how can this get any more crazy? I was losing my shit. I was like, at this point, this is probably this is the best animated show on Amazon Prime. And it's kind of surpassed some of my Netflix favorites with animations. But the more I think about it, Netflix has way more like hard dramas with like dramedies instead of like action dramedies, I guess, because there's not really much action happening in the Netflix animation shows, with the exception of maybe some of the anime that they're creating. I'm not as familiar with their anime, but I am a little bit more familiar with just the regular animation. But yeah, so this was certainly something to get hype about. So let's hop into episode 8. Everyone that has not watched episode 8 and finished the season, this is where you're going to pause and come on back. Come on back. Bring the popcorn. Bring the friends. Bring grandma. Grandma hasn't seen shit like this, so you get better tell her to grab her yogurt. Oh yeah, get that yogurt and get ready, because you were going to want to be I guess quenched or satisfied or whatever. You're gonna want to have all your vices right by your side. Grab your beer, grab your cocktails. I don't care if it's 8 in the morning. This is episode 8 because we got to get it crazy. Actually, it's probably bad. Don't listen to me. I'm not. I'm. Yeah, just don't. Yeah, whatever. Let's start on episode 8. I was kind of rambling just so anybody that needed to pause the podcast could. So let me get a little sip of this good, and I'm sipping on a little bit of pre-workout this morning because I'm about to head to the gym after watching this episode. Yeah, it was. I actually watched it last night. I'm recording it the morning after, so I woke up this morning. I feel like I got hit by Omniman after this one. Episode 8, Where I Really Come From, directed by Jeff Allen and written by Robert Kirkman. Nolan reveals he came as an infiltrator to weaken and conquer Earth for the Viltrumite Empire. This was essentially the same story he told at the beginning of the show, with the exception of him saying that he's going to protect the worlds that he's leaving Viltrumite to do. Instead of protecting it, he's destroying them. He's, I guess, making it so it's easier for the Viltrumite Empire to conquer. Which, in one sense, you're like, okay, I get it. This is his actual motivations. He's been here for thousands of years. The lifespan of Mark has been like a speck on the windshield of his entire life, and he's about to just clean the whole thing shut. This episode is extremely grim and dark and deep in a way that in the not so great camp makes it feel like Omni-Man is no longer relatable in any sense. For the first few episodes, you kind of try to sympathize with him and of why he would want to do this, why he would need to do this. At the end of this episode, you're like, I could almost never sympathize with him. Not even a little bit. So, Mark is effortlessly outmatched by Nolan, brutalizing him while devastating Chicago and killing thousands. So, this is all in like 1 or 2 lines, but the animation that is happening here, honestly, I wanted as much conversation between these two characters as I could, because every time they punched, I'd like wince physically. I'd be like, God, can y'all just stop fighting so y'all can have a conversation? And Omni-Man is just like, I need to beat you till you learn. And it's it's the kind of thing like, join me and we can conquer the world together kind of thing. But like Mark is not having it. Mark understands that these are real people. These are people with thoughts, feelings, futures, etc. He has friends. He has his mom. He has his family. I find it kind of hard to believe that Omni-Man would think that Mark would just uh, unabashedly would turn his back against Earth just because he has powers. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have feelings like Omni-Man. Um, and I love some of the the grand scale of things, like having being punched by Omni-Man. The dude, his if when Omni-Man punches you at one point, I know I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but at one point Mark is punched into the ground so hard that it causes an avalanche or some sort of earthquake of some sort, and it just becomes like so brutal that I'm like, this is it's the I don't know, torture porn for animation. Is that a thing? I'm sure that there's some really terrible like animation out there that has to do with brutalizing other people that's as mainstream as this, but I don't think I've seen something that is just like straight up just people getting shredded left and right. And I guess one of the hardest things to watch this happen in a way. It felt like we were watching an animated version of living in Batman v Superman with Zack Snyder or directing, because we get street and ground view of how terrible it would be for a superhero battle to be happening in the middle of, let's just say, Chicago. An entire building falling, and so I have a couple things. I wish that there was more superheroes that were helping the people. I know that they kind of come in sort of last minute, but there is so much death. There is so much of Nolan just putting his son's face right in the right in the middle of, literally an oncoming train coming, with his face just absorbing every single blow that would happen with a train going through, and they're too strong to die from it, so they just have to sit there, and Mark just takes the blow with his dad holding his head to his train straight to the dome with all these fucking bodies of people and debris and all this bullshit. It is insane. When I was watching this, I thought at least there would be some sort of a little bit of a matchup. Maybe Mark get an edge in some way. There's absolutely no edge Mark has. The only edge Mark has is being, quote unquote, invincible, because he literally got the shit beat out of him. And so, yeah, there's about 3 or 4 massive scenes, I think, that where you just see that Omni-Man is just an unstoppable force. And there's one point where, okay, so like Nolan throws Mark straight through Chicago. We see this young woman and her daughter falling out of a building. He tries to save. Almost everyone he's trying to save is being just squashed or killed or destroyed in some way. When movies, when they show people getting out of the way when there's this big explosion happening, you're like, oh, thank goodness all they got was a little debris on them. Absolutely not. In this animation, no one gets away in the debris. If there's any debris coming towards you, you're probably squashed, ripped apart, smashed. Something crazy is going to happen to you. And you do not want to be a non-main character. Hell, even being a main character, you might get fucked up. But, yeah, Doug Ferguson, Cecil's side dude, was definitely in the wrong place at the wrong time, spying on Omni-Man's house. So yeah, with all of this happening, Nolan's having flashbacks of his childhood, and Nolan brutalizing Mark while devastating Chicago and killing thousands. But when Nolan's flashbacks to Mark's childhood, he realizes what he has done to Mark and tearfully flies off Earth. So I think it's a little bit too late to have some sort of heart at the end of what he's done. He's literally killed thousands, he's killed his best friends. He's quote unquote best friends. Um, he's at that point he solidified himself as kind of being an outsider, and you do get a small perspective of this guy is almost like Dr. Manhattan levels of omnipotent, because he's just seen so much. He's probably seen destructions of worlds at this point. And you know what was going through my head the entire time? I was like, you know what, Omni-Man has probably run this gambit many times. He's probably, if he's living thousands of years, Mark probably has brothers. Omni-Man might have killed his former sons. He might have killed his former wives. There's so much about this Omni-Man character that I didn't even think about until he said, "Oh yeah, I've been here thousands of years. You don't even understand. It's just all so small and irrelevant in perspective of who we are." And it's like, wow, he at one point he even says, "I'll just make a new son." I was like, holy Santa Claus shit. I was like, this dude's literally scum of the earth. Or he's scum of off the earth. he's the worst person I've ever heard of. And so for him to just flip a switch and all of a sudden just hate his family and have no affection about his wife or anything is really heartbreaking, especially for Cecil to have, the drones listening in on all of this so that Debbie can hear this. The Guardians and Eve mobilized to aid Chicago's relief efforts. Like, I swear, why weren't y'all out there sooner? I wanted some more of that, people being helped and stuff like that, because obviously Mark couldn't do it alone. Later, Cecil falsely falsifies Nolan's citizen's death in a gas explosion. Okay, so sorry. Cecil fakes the death of Nolan and basically the entire family, I believe. With Nolan's book royalties able to keep Debbie and Mark financially afloat. I don't know why Debbie couldn't work. A devastated Debbie goes for a shared drink with Rosenbaum. Also hurt since Nolan's betrayal. Rosenbaum was like the Alfred of the universe. He was kind of like the older tailor that was helping out Nolan, I guess, with his helping out Debbie with her research and stuff like that. And then I thought he was gonna be dead. It did kind of hurt to see that, like, Omni-Man literally broke off all of his. When he flew away upset with everything shedding off of him into the the blood and all of this shedding off of him into the universe, it's quite a scene. But with doing that, this dude's leaving his family, he's leaving his son, he's leaving his best friends, like Rosenbaum, or supposedly best friend, or one of his best friends. After 2 weeks of recovering, Mark and Amber restart their relationship. Before getting into the 2 weeks bumper, I gotta say, the absolute devastation of Mark getting literally beat to hell and back, and he's essentially almost unable to breathe. He's coughing up blood, and the only thing is his father is like, "Why won't you listen?" He's like, after 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 years, or whatever the hell he says, there's gonna be nothing left of this earth. Why do you keep on fighting? That type of thing. And he says, Mark says, "I'm gonna have you." And that was a moving line. That even after the devastation of everything that's happened on Earth and all of the pain that Omni-Man has caused physically on his son and emotionally, that he's still saying, "I'm going to have you, Dad." And so, yeah, that's that was quite a moving line. I'm not sure if that would be the line that would trigger him to stop beating his son. Um, I guess my biggest problem was believing that Omni-Man would just completely uplift his life just for this. Yeah, so after 2 weeks of recovering, Mark and Amber restart their relationship. As she and William learn Eve is also a superhero, Cecil calls Mark about something approaching Earth and intercepts Alan. This is the Seth Rogen voice alien character. Updating him on events, Alan apologizes for not giving Mark forewarning about the Vitromites. But with Nolan's abandoning Earth, Alan warns that a Vitromite fleet will come for Earth, while also thinking Invincible could help the Coalition stop the Vitromite expansion. Meanwhile, the Molars are once again arrested as villainous forces from the recent year conspire for inevitable returns, and Cecil has Sinclair mass-produce Reaniman drones as Viltrumite countermeasure. So we get a lot of tracks laid for the next 2 seasons of Invincible, given that Amazon has already ordered all of this, which makes me feel a little bit better. That means that they are going to be writing the end of season 2 to be gearing into to season 3. That means they don't have to immediately think that they're going to be canceled at the end of each season. This definitely was one of the most thought-provoking and most entertaining pieces of media on Amazon Prime Media. It's what I'd consider a must-watch. All-star casting. Really, really tight writing. Yeah, and it's overall something we just have not seen before. It does take a lot of cues from the nihilism of The Boys. However, I think there's enough charisma that is fed through the voice actors that really makes me, geared up and excited to watch these. They even have like side characters like Ezra Miller. Before he was doing some crazy shit off, on the web or whatever. I used to enjoy Ezra Miller's kind of craziness when he plays this evil like college asshole that's making these drones and stuff like that, abducting kids. I do like how there's these kind of smaller episodes within the grand scheme of this entire season that eventually feed into the larger narrative, just like the Mad Scientist. And let me think, what else? The twins, the clones. We got Robot. We got Cecil's backstory. There's a grand world that has certainly been opened. The door has been kicked open since this has been dropped. Mixed feelings about it being week by week. I will say I felt like I needed to binge the entire thing. I wanted to watch the next episode, as opposed to I'm watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier as well, and I feel like I'm satisfied at the end of the episode. I don't need to watch the next episode like I needed to watch the next episode of Invincible. So there's a couple like small pacing quibbles I had with other shows that I don't have with this one. I thought it was going to be a little wonky with the pacing and whatnot at the beginning, but I think that this ultimately was a very satisfying feature, piece of media. So let me know how I can improve the podcast. Let me know how I can improve the reviews. Comments, questions, concerns at LuckyDog Podcast. Check out all of the links in the description. If you want this early, get the patreon.com/LuckyDog podcast. If you want on YouTube, get on Twitch, get on SoundCloud, get it master on SoundCloud, get it on your podcast provider of choice. Once again, let me know if you have any questions, luckydog@gmail.com. And yeah, until next time, take it easy.